Okay, so we're going to create the altitude of a triangle, and an altitude is a segment that goes from a vertex to the opposite side, but it's perpendicular to the opposite side. So instead of trying to start with a perpendicular segment, what we're going to do is we're going to start with actually a perpendicular line and make a segment out of that line. So you're going to click on the vertex and the opposite side, and you're going to go construct perpendicular line. Now you've got a perpendicular line, and from that you're going to sort of take out a perpendicular segment. So with your segment tool selected, you're going to go from the vertex to the point where your perpendicular line hit your opposite side right there. And you'll notice that the line becomes dotted. I want you to select that line and hide it. You can either go Control H or you can go Display and then Hide Perpendicular Line. That'll leave you with a perpendicular segment. You'll notice that segment stays perpendicular no matter how you move this around. So, next thing you're going to want to do is add your right angle to show that it is in fact perpendicular, and then you're done. You've created an altitude. So, creating altitudes for acute triangles is usually pretty easy, but look what happens if we try to turn this triangle into an obtuse triangle. The altitude disappears. So I also want to show you how to make the altitude of an obtuse triangle. So the problem is when you're trying to make the altitude of an obtuse triangle here, you're trying to find the line that runs perpendicular down from this vertex to the opposite side, but you could see it's going to miss the opposite side. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to extend the opposite side with a ray, all right? And we're going to take that extension and we're actually going to click on line style and turn it into a dashed line, so we know that it's not really part of the triangle. Then the next thing we can do is go ahead and do our perpendicular altitude like we did before. You click on the vertex and you click on the opposite side and the extended opposite side, and you're going to go construct perpendicular line. You're going to take your segment tool and make a segment on top of there. You're going to hide the rest of the line, Control H, and then you're going to add your right angle symbol. And now you have created an altitude for an obtuse triangle where the altitude actually extends and hits the base outside of the triangle. So again, you can move this around. We have our altitude inside and we have our altitude outside. Okay, so there's one more thing to remember, and that's that every base has its own altitude. So even though this doesn't feel like the bottom of the triangle, so to speak, it is considered the base. Every triangle has 3 different bases. It just depends on where you're standing. So if we wanted to create the altitude for this side, we would click it and we'd click the opposite vertex and we'd go construct perpendicular line just like we did before, and we'd take a segment out of that line and we would then hide the line, and then again we could put our right angle in. So every triangle is going to have 3 altitudes. Some will be inside the triangle, some will be outside the triangle, depending on whether the triangle is acute or obtuse. And you should be able to draw the altitude from the vertex to its opposite side for all 3 sides.